is up, App Nation? It is Steve P. Young, founder of appmasters.com, and you are in the right place every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific if you want to learn all the great strategies to help you grow your app downloads and your revenues. And today we've got an amazing episode with Lucas, but we're going to really talk about Web2App campaigns. It is here already. If you haven't started deploying Web2App strategies, you need to do that because there's been a 64% growth in Web2App campaigns. And it's one of the strategies that allows big companies to go even bigger and small companies to get into the midsize and so forth. And to break it all down for us is Lucas. He is the VP of product at Paddle, a leading payments infrastructure company that helps digital software businesses grow revenues and streamline operations. So without further ado, let's bring in Lucas. Lucas, how did I do? Okay.
You did very well. Very impressed with the intro. Thanks very much. Great to be here.
That's me fishing, Lucas. I'm an insecure man, but it is paddle.com. Easy enough. Go check it out, paddle.com. Lucas, anything you want to add on to that Paddle intro that I might have missed?
No, I think you nailed it. Very happy to be here. As you mentioned before, Web2App has been a big tailwind in our business of late. We're working with lots of mobile app companies who are exploring web channels, and I'm really excited to be here and share some of that insight with you and your audience today.
I love it. And so if you guys got questions along the way, I'll be handling all the comments. I do want to say hi to a few people, Lucas, because why not? We should recognize the people who's showing up live. Miguel's here. We got John D, Ace Exam Prep. I want to call you by your name, but I have no idea what it is. And then we got Romain here as well. Stella Sleep Kids. That is Eric. We're going to take a look at his app. So you got to be nice to Eric. And then Romain, good to see you, bro. And then Joe as well. And Lucas did some homework for us because he put together an amazing presentation. And I'm a sucker for these presentations. All right, Lucas, I'll follow your lead.
Nice. Yeah. So thanks very much for having me, Steve. Looking forward to diving into this with everyone today. So Web2App is a really exciting opportunity, I think, for mobile app developers. And we have been working with lots of people like you to sort of explore how you can leverage the web channel to the best of your ability. So yeah, looking forward to digging into it. Do you want to move to the next slide there, Steve?
Yes, sir.
Let's keep going. So just wanted to quickly introduce Paddle and talk a bit about why we're here. So as Steve mentioned in the introduction, Paddle is a global merchant of record on the web. We are an end-to-end billing and payments platform primarily. So we support 5,000 customers across their web revenue channels with end-to-end payments and billing. So it's a payments infrastructure product. Companies use Paddle to capture revenue all over the world to help them sort of scale their businesses. And the merchant of record component for us is really important, which means that we act as a reseller somewhat in the same way that the app stores act as a reseller, which means that we handle all of the compliance and sales tax around the transaction, making it easy for you to sort of scale and sell your stuff internationally. Obviously, our model is different to the App Store. It's not the same in many ways. It's a payments platform for web products, but some of those value props definitely do overlap. So why are we here today? So we serve an increasing number of mobile app companies who are transitioning some of their volume to web, i.e. these sorts of companies who are deploying web to app strategies. And as I mentioned, as a merchant of record, there's a nice harmony between some of the benefits they get from the App Store and the benefits that we provide with Paddle, which I'm going to dig into today. So that's why we're here, and that's why we're talking to you. So for context, this is actually quite new from a Paddle perspective. 70% of our top 10 customers are now cross-platform. That means that they are present and selling on both the app stores and the web stores, which is really interesting. 5-6 years ago, that was not the case. And we served a very exclusively web audience or companies that were exclusively selling on the web. And we have quite a lot of customers in that space, sort of SaaS companies and these types of builders. But today, we're seeing a lot of companies creep into our top 10 who are present on both the app stores and the web. And these are the companies that are successfully deploying web to app strategies. And the really interesting thing is they're growing quite quickly. Yeah. So companies that are choosing to invest in the web channel as a way of capturing revenue are growing 30% faster than the rest when we sort of benchmark that across our wider cohort of customers. So this for us is something that we're working really closely on. We really want to sort of position ourselves and build a product that's really compelling and sort of helps companies and helps mobile app developers sell their products on the web. And of course, we can dig into what that tech stack looks like and what other tools are required in that sort of web to app world. But obviously the payments and capturing those payments on the web is a crucial part of that.
I love it. Hey, Lucas, I want to take a pause real quick. Well, Victor says, Lucas, say hi to Glenn. I met him a year ago and he gave me a paddle bag and I'm still using it. So I won't say where.
There you go. I will pass that one on. I'll pass that one on for sure. Well, he's actually here today. He's outside the office. I saw him before.
Hey, Glenn, where's mine? All right.
Yeah.
What I do also want to say is, we've done a lot of Web2App content in a little bit too. And I know a little bit about it, but like sometimes you'll see a higher acquisition cost, but a lower, but retention is a lot higher. So when I mean acquisition, it's not necessarily like per customer, but actually like per email registrant, right? You might see a higher. And one of the insights I got from just the marketplace and being in touch with it is this is where Android opens up too. A lot of Android users are willing to pay on the web. And what Web2App campaigns open up is your monetization on Android. Because I've heard anecdotally people finding that Android users are signing up on the web, but then downloading the Android version. Their Android sales have started to climb up because of Web2App campaigns.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Really interesting. We can dig into some of that retention stuff shortly, for sure.
Okay, sorry, I stepped on that.
All good. Let's keep moving through. So you can move to the next one as well if you like. Yeah. So operation and sales tax. So I'll start off with the operational stuff to get through it, and then we can get onto some of the more interesting components of doing web to app. Sure. So I think like sales tax is super important. It's a value prop that a lot of people probably take for granted on the app stores. So the app store is operating as a reseller, which means they're handling all of that complexity around sales tax for you. So lots of countries around the world have sales tax on digital goods, on software, and those tax rates are different, and you need to be able to manage that complexity on the web. And that's something that a lot of companies start to experience when they move to web, is some of this complexity around sales tax, because not all web-based payments platforms will provide that value prop. It's sort of an exclusively merchant of record value prop. And importantly, tax is something that is applicable based on where your users are. So if you're running a global company, if you're selling and acquiring users all over the world, this is something that you need to consider. So if you keep moving through there, Steve, on the slides, the MOR model, the merchant of record model that Paddle provides, makes this very easy to manage globally. So as a merchant of record, you place a checkout on your website. The checkout is hosted and owned by Paddle, and then when your buyer pays you, that money comes through Paddle as the merchant of record. We will receive that payment. We'll handle all of the tax for you. So we'll calculate the tax rate initially for you. We'll take on that tax. We'll remit the tax to the relevant authority, and then onward transfer the funds to you as the seller. So the merchant of record model is very much sitting between you and the buyer in order for us to sort of provide that value prop, so that when you're transitioning from the app world to the web world, you don't have to worry about tax and compliance, and you can continue to sort of benefit from a third party handling that for you as you transition to the web. Now, if you move to the next slide again there, Steve, what you'll see is that lots of sort of typical payment processors or payment services companies like Stripe or Braintree don't operate under a merchant of record model. That means that you have to register in every single tax jurisdiction and handle this yourself, because what they're doing is sort of exclusively taking that payment. So there's still a liability that you're carrying if you're going to use one of those options. Whereas with a merchant of record like Paddle, we operate from a tax perspective in a similar way to the App Store, where we will take on liability for handling all of that tax, which when you're selling globally it can be a big liability, both from a sort of cost perspective and a resource perspective. So that's sort of the primary benefit of a merchant of record model. And for us, I think that's really why mobile app companies are coming to Paddle to support their web channels, because it works harmoniously with the App Store, and they're not taking on sort of additional operational burden as they transfer to the web. So you get your global compliance. You can expand anywhere without worrying about sales tax, without worrying about sort of local rules around this sort of stuff, which is a really good accelerant from a growth perspective, enabling you to focus on what matters, which is acquiring customers and building great web funnels. So that's sort of the operational piece around the merchant of record model. If we keep moving through,
let's do it. Cool.
I wanted to talk a bit about localization, which is a really important component of succeeding on the web. So as a payments platform, like, we really believe that localization is a growth lever. It's an opportunity for you to grow your company. And most companies that are selling on the web probably underestimate the power of true localization and the impact it can have on conversion.
Yep.
So when we think about web to app, we're thinking about a conversion scenario, right? Like, the outcome is how many people or how many users can I acquire through my web funnel, and how many can I convert, right? To make that channel profitable, to make that channel worthwhile. So when we think about true localization, there are lots of different components to this. On the front end, or the thing that your users see, there is localizing the language. So making sure you're presenting your buying experience in the local language, which applies not only to the checkout component, but also to the web funnel that you're building. More specifically, from a sort of paywall and checkout component, you want to make sure that you're localizing currencies as well, so that you're sending a message to your users that you care about them and that you're present and active in their geography. You don't want to be surfacing, GBP to your users in Australia, for example. They would expect to see that currency displayed in AUD. And the third component to it, which is sort of starting to get, I mean, the first two are quite obvious, right? Most people go, yeah, I localize language, I localize currency somewhat. You'd be surprised at how many don't, but a lot do. Then you're starting to get into sort of localization of payment methods, which are you offering the right payment methods based on who those users are in that particular market or geography? I'll show you on a slide in just a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, that lots of different markets and different countries have different types of payment methods that people tend to use, which is a really important component of how you're selling to those people. So I'll give you an example, but like in Brazil, there's a payment method called Pix, right? And Pix has very, very high adoption. More transactions in Brazil are processed through Pix than are through credit cards. So if you're not offering Pix, then you're creating a barrier to purchase for your users in Brazil. So payment methods are super important. Price is also a super important component of localization. So making sure that you're pricing based on willingness to pay, and that you're not just taking a US dollar price that reflects purchasing power in the US and then applying it everywhere, understanding that there are differences. And then I won't spend too much time here, but in the back end as well, we work very hard under the hood around localizing payment gateways, localizing acquiring banks, and localizing entities and merchant accounts to make sure that we are maximizing the success rate of your payments. There are lots and lots of reasons why payments fail. So we're building the infrastructure under the hood. You don't have to worry about it. We're doing that to make sure that we are maximizing the success rate of those payments and keeping acceptance rates high. So that's sort of what is localization.
I love it.
Yeah.
Here, that just to recap. Sorry, Lucas, I wasn't going to step on it. But one thing I want to say, Lucas, is if you're an indie out there, indie app developer, and there's one channel where you're getting stuck and you're hitting a ceiling, let's say in the US, this localization tactic will instantly increase your revenues. I think a lot of people are ignoring it. And I think especially as indies, if you're out there, and especially if you're not in the US, look at your home country. You know it better than people in the US. So you have a unique advantage. But we've worked with a lot of indies who've done great success in some of the countries you're going to start to show a little bit later too.
Absolutely. Let's keep moving through. Let's get through it. We can show some more stuff. So
you got me excited, Lucas. Let's go.
Bring that to life. To bring that to life. So if you think about like a web funnel, right, and conversion through the funnel, we see companies that are localizing payment methods outgrowing companies who aren't, right? And that's because they're just capturing more people through the funnel. More people are landing on the checkout page and going, you're providing me with the payment method that I want to use, therefore I will buy. Mm-hmm. And therefore you're avoiding the number of people who go, you're actually not providing the payment method that I want to use, therefore I won't buy. So this has an impact on growth, right? Multiple percentage points, the same in currencies. Yeah. Companies who are deploying multiple currencies are seeing much higher growth than those who aren't. Even if you're just doing 2 currencies, you're still going to grow more. And those who are localizing pricing, so adjusting their pricing based on price sensitivity, can also see quite an uptick in revenue because their products are competitive in that market. If you're trying to sell, we're going to talk about this in a minute, but if you're trying to apply US dollar price that works in North America to Eastern Europe, you're going to just drive yourself out of competition because those people aren't going to buy, right? Just due to basic purchasing power. So the message here is like the impact isn't like 0.1, 0.2%. The impact is like multiple percentage points that can really, really hit your top line. So it's important to think about.
Lucas, we just did this with a client of ours, and I mean, it went from 0 to something when we started localizing in India, Russia. Like it was just like you can see, and it's like growth wise, it's like 200%, but it's still small numbers. But it was the movement, immediate,
for sure,
immediate impact.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. Let's keep moving through. So, you can see here, this is just designed to sort of show some of that in reality. This is looking at regions that have the most non-card payment methods. So I think when you live in countries like the UK or the US, where credit cards and debit cards, Visa, MasterCard, Amex are prevalent, you forget that actually in lots of countries they're nowhere near as prevalent as what they are in countries like the UK and the US. So to give you a bit of an idea of that, you look at China, and China, the vast majority of transactions are processed through Alipay, which is a completely different payment method. So it's really hard to be successful in China without offering Alipay. And if you look at the Netherlands, Ideal is a very big payment method in the Netherlands, accounts for a large number of transactions. And then you look at other countries across Europe and Asia and Africa where PayPal is really prevalent. And then there are other examples beyond just this graphic, but like the message being the sort of dynamics of payment methods and the types of ways in which buyers want to pay varies by country. And if you want to maximize your success in any given market, you need to be partnering with a payments platform that can provide these currencies for you, so you can maximize your success. So don't assume that everyone accepts cards, Visa and MasterCard cards. Lots of countries, there are other payment methods that are much more prevalent and account for a much larger number of those transactions.
Yeah.
And interestingly, most people don't localize prices. I think more people localize currencies, but most don't. So 50% of people, based on an answer to a survey that we did, don't actually localize pricing at all. So what is really common, or more common, is to define a base price in USD and then just automatically FX into every other currency. Now that's fine. That's going to get you part of the way, but you're still applying the purchasing power at a USD level, right? At a North American level, which, as we'll see in a minute, is not quite right. So few people are localizing at all. Some are localizing based on willingness to pay, so pulling prices up and down based on local markets and price sensitivity. And then some are doing sort of more stuff with foreign exchange and operating costs. But primarily, I think that the highest lever that people have is very much around willingness to pay. So if we move to the next slide, you'll see how that starts to look, right? So if we use USD as a base price, you can see in the Nordics, nearly 30% higher willingness to pay, whereas Eastern Europe is about 10% less in terms of willingness to pay. So these regions all have varying levels of willingness to pay, and your prices, to maximize revenue, to maximize conversions, and maximize your opportunity for success in that market, you need to be adjusting your pricing based on willingness to pay. So you can see here, there are big variations, right? And then you start to go into Southeast Asia and you realize, actually, I should be charging perhaps nearly half of what I'm charging in the US in order to capture that market, purely based on willingness to pay. So something for you to think about. We're very happy to support. We support lots of companies with this sort of data to help them make decisions on pricing, but it's a really important thing that can drive conversion and help support good outcomes.
Lucas, you got a calculator? I mean, as people are always looking for like a calculator.
We don't have a calculator specifically on the website or anything, but we have the data. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
We should do that, actually. It's a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to do it. We have a calculator that we use
Yeah.
internally that we built it out. So I'm happy to like share
Amazing.
that with you guys, and then we can come up with a calculator together.
Great. Let's do
All
it.
right. All right. Making deals happen. Look at us.
Exactly. Doing business on the live stream. Love it. So the other one here is pricing based on sales tax. So US consumers are very used to paying tax on top of the price. So the price is displayed, and then they expect tax to be added to it. Whereas in Europe, we don't really expect that. Most prices are displayed inclusive of tax. So you want to be able to have this flexibility in the platform. Inside of Paddle, you can dictate whether you want your prices to be inclusive or exclusive of tax. But this does have a meaningful impact on conversions. So just another little tidbit for you.
Yeah, that was the most shocking thing. My British friend was like, "What the hell? I thought this was $4." And I get to the counter and it's like $5.25 or something. I was
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
they had tax
Yeah.
afterwards. Yeah. This is
So
what I
moving
was
on.
talking about. Yeah.
There you go. Moving on from localization. I hope that was helpful. Is into retention and subscription flexibility. So one of the great things about the web is that there's lots of really good tools out there to help with churn and retention. So when we think about how companies grow, you think about a bucket, you think about filling the bucket at the top. How can you make sure the leaky bucket doesn't sort of start gushing with water? So we think a lot about retention and about the different types of churn that happens, and what we can do to sort of support you retaining more revenue. So they're very much like two different types of churn, I guess, if you think about it. So we think about the world through the lens of involuntary churn and voluntary churn. So which is somewhat tied to this graphic, but a little bit different, which is what is all the churn that's happening that where the user isn't intending to churn, where the user isn't intending to leave your product. And that could be because of a credit card failure or like an expiry of a card. They didn't intend to leave the product, or they just happened to be that their card expired. And then we think about voluntary churn, which is, I'm churning because I don't like the product, because I think it costs too much, because support's letting me down, it's really buggy, I don't like the feature set, etc., etc. And there are different ways of combating those two things, right? There are different ways of combating involuntary churn and voluntary churn. And a similar lens to think about this is through sort of strategic cancellations and tactical cancellations, which you can see on this graphic here. So if you move through to the next slide, there's a big opportunity to take care of some of this tactical retention, which means addressing things like credit card failures, and also optimizing terms and winning back customers. So if we move through again to the next slide, optimizing term length is really powerful. So longer term plans tend to have a much higher LTV. I know this gets spoken a lot about in the mobile app world. Steve, I'm sure you have a perspective on this. And I think, some data sets might look a little bit different, but generally we see that longer term plans have higher LTV. Most companies that we talk to tend to be a bit afraid or apprehensive to ask about term optimization beyond the initial sign up. But we think there's a big opportunity to actually, engage with your users in a different way, and upsell them onto longer term plans once they're through a sign up flow, based on things like usage behavior, and trying to pull some of that data and use analytical tools to determine the likelihood of an upsell. So thinking about how you can build these sorts of cancellation, these term optimization flows, into your product is really interesting. So if you just move onto the
One
next.
second, Lucas.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So this is one where I really like it. So this is a SaaS product. We use Basecamp. We've been on the monthly plan for the longest time. As you guys can see, you were on this monthly plan, but they're like, hey, upgrade to annual. We're going to give you more storage, which I loved, right? A lot of times you just save money. That's it. But I love the fact that they said, hey, let's give away something that's low, probably won't cost you much more if I were to move. But this is one where it did make me upgrade. And I think on the web, because we were talking about Web2App campaigns, you can start to differentiate your annuals and your monthly. Because on the mobile side, we can't. It's just one price. You get all features. You just pick the term length. But on the web, you can start to differentiate some of these things. And this is one example that I really love too, Lucas.
And I think, yeah, it's a great example. It's a perfect example. The great thing about this is, you've created an experience that has a relatively low barrier to entry. Where I'm going to start off on the monthly plan, right? And then once I'm inside the product, I understand its value, I feel committed to it. I've used it for a few months, which means it's a pretty good signal that I'm going to use it in perpetuity, right? And
Right.
continue to use it. It's a good time to say, hey, listen, do you want to upgrade to annual? It's a bit cheaper for you. We think you love the product. And everybody wins because LTV goes up for you. And it's a little bit cheaper for the user. So a very, very good intervention in the user experience that you can make on the web to sort of support optimizing your term length.
Yeah, it's awesome. Calm actually got me to go to Lifetime as well on the web.
There you go.
All right,
There you go.
here's the Whoop.
This is an example of what Whoop are doing, yeah?
Yeah.
So our Retain product provides all of this. We have a product at Paddle called Retain, which provides a lot of this functionality out of the box.
Nice.
And you can see here, like, this is an email that's come through that said, listen, there's a way to save money on your subscription. You've been here for a while. We're going to give you 2 months free if you sign up to an annual plan, driving LTV and making the price cheaper for the user, which is great. So this is just a nice example of a company that's implementing term optimization on the web.
I love it.
Cancellation flows are another great example. So again, cancellation flows are things that we provide out of the box. You can lower your cancellations by, again, like this isn't like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 percentage points. This is multiple percentage points through crafting an offboarding experience that is meaningful. So if we keep moving through to the next slide, one of the great uses of cancellation flows is, of course, to generate insight. Yeah. So we're sorry to see you go. How do we fall short? What's the reason why you are in the process of leaving? That's helpful for me as someone who is trying to build a great product and get closer to our customer. So one of the benefits of this is of course just generating the insight by having a flow that people are engaged in when they go to cancel. But of course, you can also use this to trigger like a salvage offer or something that can be a bit of a, like, you can use to try and retain that customer during the process of cancellation. So if you move through to the next slide there, you'll see that what you're doing at its core is you're adding some friction to the offboarding process, and then you're asking them a question, which is, why are you canceling? And then based on the answer that they give you, you can sort of implement a number of experiences. So a salvage offer, which we talk about a lot, is saying, listen, I can put you on this plan for 90 days if you weren't happy with the plan that you were on, based on a signal that you've got from them. You can propose that you put them into maintenance mode. So like a lightweight plan just to ensure that their data is still here when they're back. You can offer a pause. You can offer a freemium tier, so just bumping them down a tier. You can play chicken with them if you'd like to do that. But what you're doing here is you're giving them options that aren't canceling, right? You're giving them an option to, perhaps they would be happy on a lower tier that costs a little bit less, or perhaps they'd be happier if you wipe 30 or 40% off the price, and you're still retaining some upside, but also feeling like you're doing the right thing by the user. So implementing these cancellation flows, great for generating insight, great for for user proximity, but also a way of sort of retaining some upside, and hopefully reducing the number of users who are canceling.
Lucas, this is one reason why I've never canceled my Audible subscription. It
There you
is
go.
definitely something that like they do a great job of me canceling. Like, well, why don't you just move to every other month? I'm like, all right, I could do that.
All right, if I have to. Nice. Good stuff. So, and the data tells this story. Yeah. So, what this graphic is showing here is the churn rate based on whether you do have an offboarding experience or whether you don't have an offboarding experience. So if you have no offboarding experience and your average revenue per user is between $1 and $25, your monthly revenue churn is about 2 percentage points higher than if you do have an offboarding experience. And as you can see, the story is much the same, even as you increase your ARPU. So it's roughly 2 to 3% higher churn rate if you don't have any offboarding experience. So the upside you can gain here is quite meaningful. Again, right? Like, yes, it's only 2 or 3% based on an offboarding experience or not, but you start to compound that out. If you think about the leaky bucket, if you can retain 2 or 3% of the customers or the users that are leaving you, then that's all upside for your company. So again, like a relatively small addition to the experience, a relatively easy to implement intervention, if you like, that can generate some upside for you.
Yeah, and I can work on some examples for the team too on that, because we have some good ones in the app space too that people are
Yeah.
using too. You want to talk about chargebacks really quick? Melody has a comment. Does Paddle have a higher tolerance for chargebacks than Stripe?
That is a good question. It's a bit of a difficult question to answer, to be honest, because I don't exactly know myself, like specifically what tolerance Stripe have for chargebacks. We do have a tolerance for chargebacks. We don't have, you have to maintain a pretty low chargeback rate generally. We want to make sure that we aren't sort of onboarding customers who have really high chargeback rates. We have thresholds internally. I probably wouldn't share them publicly right now, but we're very happy to take a look at your data and determine whether Paddle would be a good fit for you. Managing chargebacks is really important. It's important for us to do. It's actually important for mobile app developers to do as well. I think companies that have a lot of longevity typically have low chargeback rates. So yeah, something that we manage. Specifically, an answer to the specific question of do we have a higher tolerance than Stripe is a difficult one for me to answer right now here. But definitely something we're happy to discuss with you for sure.
All right, and let's talk about payment failures here.
Nice. So payment failures. Usually the biggest reason why you lose customers, which is that simply the payment didn't fail. Simply that the payment failed. So you might be on a rolling monthly plan, and then on month 9, you just happen to have a credit card that expires and you don't realize, and so that payment fails. Or you might have insufficient funds in your bank account and that payment fails. This is what we call involuntary churn, where the user has not intended to churn. They don't want to leave your product. It's circumstantial, right? Something's happened from a payment perspective that means that they have churned. Now, there are ways to combat this, which we'll talk about now if you want to keep moving through the slides. So there are a few things that we do internally, but before I get to this, at Paddle to help combat this. So we have something called a card account updater, which is a bit of technology that enables us to call an API and basically update cards that are due to expire soon. So we can do that, which is great. That solves a portion of the problem. There's also some emerging tech in payments called network tokens. So a lot of people will know that when you use Apple Pay, you don't have to update your Apple Pay when you get a new card, because Apple Pay is using a network token. That technology is becoming more prevalent in the payments world. So as we start to adopt network tokens, I think we'll see fewer cards being declined because of expiry. But then, of course, there are other reasons why payments fail as well. It's not just about expiry. And it's important that you are retrying those payments at certain intervals to sort of set you up to be able to capture that payment at some point in time. So we have something called in our retain product, a tactical retry, which will retry a customer's credit card when we think it has the highest chance of recovery. And we'll also sort of send some communications out asking them to update payment methods or update payment details so that we can try and capture those lost funds. So yeah, a really powerful tool that you can use to capture revenue. Well, I guess reduce the rate of failed payments and make sure that you're maximizing outcomes for your company.
I like it.
Just a couple of examples here of companies that have been really successful in Paddle with Paddle over the course of 2024. So HubX is a big mobile app publishing house here in Europe. They've achieved a really high payment acceptance rate with Paddle, and they've been using our retain product. And you can see some figures there. They recovered over $100,000 of churned users or churned revenue in 72 days, which is really great to see. As well as offloading a bunch of support tickets to Paddle. So one of the things that Paddle does as a merchant of record is that we handle all of the billing and transactional support as well, which means that if someone has a problem with a card or a problem with a payment, they come to us, not you, which means you can focus on your business and we can make sure we get that resolved with the user. So another big reason why mobile app developers are choosing Paddle.
Wait, and Lucas, because I always, when people like, we run some campaigns and people are like, hey, can you process my Apple subscription, refund. You guys are going to do the same thing? You're going to handle the refund requests, or we'll have to like manually refund it?
Yeah, we will handle the refund request. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
We also provide a customer portal which enables users to refund themselves through our portal or
Oh,
request
amazing.
refunds. But we can process that. Yeah, for
That
sure.
is so key. I'm just always like, here's
Yeah.
a link. Go away,
Yeah,
please.
exactly. Yeah. And then another company, GoodNotes, which I spent some time talking about localized pricing today. We went through a big sort of pricing overhaul with them, and it's been super effective. We've opened up some new revenue streams. We've localized their pricing in a bunch of markets, which has had some really good outcomes. So yeah, they're just a couple of companies that have seen some really good results from a Web2App perspective in 2024. We have lots of other customers who are now coming through our doors, who are doing Web2App, and yeah, very happy to take questions and support any other mobile app developers out there who are interested in leveraging the web as a revenue channel and as a growth channel.
I love it. Yeah, if you guys got any questions, it is one of the campaigns that I'm going to be talking a lot more about, especially in 2025, testing out a lot more, because Lucas, a lot of times what I'm trying to find is keywords that are from an ASO perspective that are popular on the app side, but also on the web side of things that I really want to go after too, because I know there's traffic for these terms.
Yeah, for sure.
I know I get this question a lot, so I'm just going to throw it up to you.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite tool on how to build out these Web2App flows?
Yeah, sure. We work very closely with the team at FunnelFox, which is a product built by Adapty. FunnelFox have a web funnel builder that you can go in and use their product to put together your web funnels. That's a great option. There are some other companies out there that do similar things, but FunnelFox is a good product. So yeah, I think there are some options. Conversion is another one. But yeah, there are some good tools out there to help you get started. And yeah, there are also some great companies out there who are really successfully doing web funnels and deploying a lot of experiments as well around web funnels, which I'd highly encourage you to do. So yeah, make sure you have your tooling in place to do that for sure.
Yeah. They've been a past sponsor of ours as well as funnelfox.com, but then paddle.com is the website for all your payment handling needs too. I mean, one company that is still a very popular live stream that a lot of people watch is the Headway one. And we talk about their Web2App funnels. They're a couple of years old, and I'm asking David to come back and share with us
nice.
new strategies too. But yeah, I'm going to ask for that too.
Awesome.
Okay, cool. Well, if you guys got questions, leave them in the comments. Victor, I see your question. I don't want to bug Lucas with it, so I will answer that in a little bit. But Lucas, let's move on to our app audit side of the show. We like to start off every app audit with some dad jokes. All right, Lucas, I'm ready. How's the volume on that? It's on true. That's better. Okay. Up, you guys. We're going to do a deal. We've been doing free Indie App Santa deals, but to get a free Indie App Santa that can drive and kickstart any app, we just did this one app. We just did this growth hack where we made a lifetime free offer. That app now has made his first $2,000 in sale. It's a really great way to kickstart any new app. We're going to give it to you for free. All you got to do is vote for your favorite joke. That's it. You just put L or S. It's that simple, and you'll be qualified. All right, Lucas, as a guest, do you want to go first? Do you want to?
All right. I tried to keep it on theme, Steve.
Okay.
So my first joke is, why are mobile apps always tired?
Why, Lucas?
Because they're always running in the background.
All right. I like it.
You like it?
I like it. I like anything that ties it in. So it is Lunar New Year. It was just a couple of days ago. And I am part Chinese. And so it's a year of the snake, Lucas. So I have some snake jokes. All right. So here we go. They were pretty cheesy. Okay. All right. The one that I like is here. Lucas, I'm going to start with the cheesiest of the cheesiest. What's a snake's favorite school subject?
Favorite school subject? Can I try science or something like that?
Close. It's actually history.
Okay. I don't mind it. That's good. It's a good start. Good start from you.
We're trying. Put S if you thought my joke was better, and put L if you thought Lucas's joke was better. And again, all you got to do is vote for you to actually get access. And Lucas, we're going to play for a pint. Yeah?
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Loser pays
Sounds good.
All right, good. We got Rares' app right now, and jokes are coming in. It's a daily log app. He, assuming that he wants feedback on the App Store listing page and then the onboarding flow, and we'll get to the paywall too. All right, Lucas, you're the guest. Kick us off. Any feedback for Rares on this app? It looks like it's a daily journal app.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a look at this one. I thought it was quite interesting. I think it looked pretty good. One thing I did notice in the onboarding flow when I went through it was that I thought they could use a bit more of the screen real estate in the onboarding. So when I was when it was asking me some questions, I had to sort of scroll through all the different responses because the screen was dominated with an image. And I thought maybe you could be sort of pushing some of that content up to make it a bit easier to click the button in the onboarding experience. So that was the main thing from that one. I did also have a look at the paywall as well, which I thought was quite interesting. I think it said continue, and we'll see we'll pick that up when we get there. I think as you move through.
Let's
here
go through this. What is? Oh, you mean this stuff that you had to
that
scroll?
stuff? Yeah. I was thinking you could push that up a bit perhaps, and make it a bit easier to see the different answers.
I like that. I'm happy. How familiar are you with journaling? Journaling is a regular habit. What about you, Lucas? Do you like to journal too?
Not much of a journaler.
All right. What are the areas of focus? I guess emotional state. Very writing. Bullet points. How long do you usually spend? Probably 1 or 2 minutes. Really? Daily reminder? Nah. You might want to just make that default yes, Rares, but up to you on that one. I love this. You're all set. Let's start your journey. 95%. I love the social proof there. I'm expecting the paywall. Okay, here's the paywall. Go ahead, Lucas.
Yeah, I didn't mind this actually.
Okay.
I think when you say 7-day free trial, that the call to action says continue then $19.99 a year. I thought it could have said like continue with your free trial, then pay this.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more clarity around what exactly you're purchasing, and what you're paying now and what you're paying later. But broadly, I thought this was quite a good paywall.
Yeah. I think what I would do too is I like the pricing, right? I'm always about making the monthly onto the annual. I agree with you. I would continue here. I would make it prominent that's a 7-day trial because, again, to your point, Lucas, about scrolling, it's not that visible. And frankly, I didn't know there was a 7-day trial. Whoops, you guys can see my StreamYard little thing that's hiding it at the bottom, but there's nothing else at the bottom. So I didn't know that this yearly trial had this yearly subscription had a trial. So you want to make sure that's prominent because usually trials tend to increase conversions in sales. All right, I'm gonna hit X. I like the sale is waiting. Cool. I don't know, Lucas, how you feel about this. Sometimes I'm like, almost like instead of let's add your first record, just say let's add your first record, go, and then just be like, take them straight into it. Do you have an opinion on this?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair feedback.
Okay. Just fair, huh? Not love.
Yeah. No, I think it's good feedback. I think it's good feedback.
Yeah, okay. That's what Lucas said about it. All right, let's mark that. Well done. Leave a review. See, this is where you just ask for it, Rares. We have seen that work really well. If you just ask for it after a win moment, people generally are positive, especially if I said
I like that.
I did. All right. Thank you. Okay, there's Lucas. I stepped up to fair to I like that. And then I like the discount here as well. But this discount, Lucas, what I would say is Rares, remove the trial. That 100%, that's never going to be 100% from trial to paid. So if you're giving a discount, don't do a trial on the discounts here. Okay. Lucas, any other feedback for Rares?
No, I think this is good. I didn't go through the whole app. I sort of focused on the onboarding and the paywall, but I think it's good.
All right. Sanchi, did you tally up the scores by any chance? Let's see. All right, let's see if he's back for that. I do want to just hit on I do like this quick and easy daily journaling, capture special moments, like really talk about the benefits of journaling too. I'm sure if they're searching for journaling, they're probably already part of it, but just FYI that, like I love everything else. The screenshots are really cool and everything, but just maybe talk about the benefits of journaling, that 95% that you had.
That's a good call out. Yeah, I like that.
All right. Lucas Histanchu says, You win the first round. All right, I started off with the stupidest joke. I knew it. Okay. Wait, we got some jokes here. Krishna. All right, good to see you, Krishna, in person. Let me get into some questions. Okay, here we go. Krishna has a question. So Krishna's a friend, Lucas. Krishna, it says, Paddle, is it more of a payment gateway or does it have all the flexibility to do subscriptions for apps?
Great question. The latter. We are not a payment gateway. We are a merchant of record. We integrate with payment gateways to make that easy for you, so you don't have to. But you get all of the out-of-the-box subscription capability inside of Paddle. So Paddle can help you and power all of your billing, all of your subscriptions, end-to-end payments, all of your pricing, currencies, payment methods, everything through one integration. So yes, the latter. All of the subscription flexibility is built into the product.
And then for Stripe, current Stripe Web2App funnels, how can Paddle help with that?
Sure. So I assume you're meaning that you are currently doing Web2App and you're powering the payments on Stripe. If you're powering the payments on Stripe, that's great. Like Stripe's a great company and it's a great payment service. Paddle is a different offering. We provide the benefits of the merchant of record, which means we'll handle all of your sales tax and your compliance globally. So that's what you'll get with Paddle that you aren't getting with Stripe, is the merchant of record piece.
Yep. And he says yes too. Just for those who are listening to this and not watching this, Joe had some really good feedback about Rares, going back to the daily log as well, this app. He said, look, fun animations. I really like the onboarding flow. I love the way it made me feel with the animations and the colors. So Rares, you did a good job. And the screenshots, yeah, lead with more of the benefits versus just some of the features. So feel better, capture your moments, not capture. I remember them, all that stuff type of thing. So talk about the benefits a little bit too. And ChatGPT is great for coming up with these headlines as well. Okay. All right, Lucas, let's go into, I was just looking through. Round 2. I have to redeem myself, my friend. Okay.
Have you saved your best till last? Are you going first this time?
These are, you know what? I love ChatGPT, but they honestly come up with the worst jokes ever. So I'm like, all right. I'll give you another one. I'm planning to lose. Okay, Lucas. What do you call a snake that works for the government? What do you call a snake that works for the government?
A snake? I don't know.
That's a good one. All right. All right. That's better than mine. Okay. A civil serpent.
A civil serpent.
But I like the snake one better.
I don't mind it.
All
right. My turn.
Yes, sir.
I got this one from my head of product marketing. I asked her if she had any good jokes, and she said, "What happens when a hard drive gets into a fight?"
What?
Ask for backup.
Okay. Good one. I like it. I like these nerdy jokes. Good stuff. All right. Put L or S, whoever thought a joke, and then we're going to pick a random winner, whoever voted, to get an Indie App Santa promo. All right, Lucas, you're already winning, so I'm going to probably give it up to you. Owe you a pint. All right. Notice that Web2App campaign, such as one. Okay. So Melanie has a great question before we move into the Eric's app, but I noticed that for Web2App campaigns, they typically do a pricing structure such as half off for the first monthly trial, whereas in-app free trials are more common. Why is that?
That's a good question. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I do agree though that you tend to see a lot of 2 weekly billing periods, so people selling subscriptions on a fortnightly basis. I imagine it's purely a sort of conversion question around what's getting most people through the paywall. Yeah. I think a lot of people are experimenting with this sort of stuff, but your point is correct. I don't have some sort of golden insight into why that is. Maybe you do, Steve.
No, I don't either. I've seen other apps do that where I've even seen Noom be like offer a trial, and as a win back to a no on the trial, be like, okay, well, there are costs associated with each of our software, but you get to pick your monthly price, your first monthly price. So Melody, I think you can be more clever with these Web2App campaigns too. And maybe, Lucas, you know about this. Like, I know on the app side of things, yearly tends to have a better LTV, and then week followed by weekly, and then followed by monthly. But I don't know on the web, especially in the B2B space, monthly tends to be a higher LTV. So that could be one of the reasons too.
Could be. Yeah, for sure.
Okay. We're just making guesses here. All right, cool. And thank you, Romaine, because he's my own lone vote. All right. Well, we don't. Sanchi already know who won that one. Okay. Thank you. I won't ask you anymore. All right. Let's get into Eric's app because Eric is here. He wants feedback on the App Store landing page. Usual stuff. All right. It's a bedtime story. Congrats on the 386 ratings, Eric. This is awesome. It's called Stella. Looks like it's meant for kids to fall asleep. I'm a kid and I need a sleep story to fall asleep every night too. So, Lucas, you got any feedback for Eric?
Again, I focused on the paywall. So are you going to move through it or?
Yeah, let me just focus on this a little bit and then we'll get into the bottom funnel. I like this. I think what you might want to try too, Eric, is highlighting kids as well. Nothing screams cuteness than dogs and kids. So maybe add some kid stuff to this imagery rather than graphic stuff. I know you're talking to a parent, but this is like more talking to a kid. So maybe show the parent like how easy it is for these kids to fall asleep. One A/B test. I love everything else. It's good, but that would be one thing that I might want to test. I do like how you have bedtime stories. Think about repeating. Sometimes it does work. So if you want to go after bedtime stories, think about repeating it here as well. All right, let's get into the app side of things because ASO will only get us so far. Let me move to this first. Got it. All right. I want to plug some of the people going promoting on Indie App Santa right now. Look at these. We got a lot of deals. So go check it out. If you're just a consumer and looking for deals, we got a lot of great deals in the Indie App Santa as well. All right. That's what you guys are voting for. Let's go into Eric's app. Play one of the, love it. Oh, we can write a story as well, suitable for kids 3 to 10 years old. New story every week. Help your child develop social love. This. I think, Lucas, I'm going to make nitpick here. I don't know if there's an older, obviously, if you have kids, you're probably going to be a little bit older. I think you need to make the next button a little bit bigger. I don't know. It's a little bit small. You can swipe, but that's the only thing.
I didn't notice it at first. Yeah. No.
So that's the only thing, Eric. But if people are going through this, fine, go for it. I'm just thinking like, would my mom see that next button? Sorry, Mom. All right, where do you want to start? I want my kids falling up. Yeah, let's go relax. Okay, I like the sign up and not now. Let me see if they have like Apple login. They do. So maybe think about that too, Eric, adding this Apple stuff and Facebook stuff because you might get more people doing it. Okay. Lucas, I'll shut up. I've been talking.
Yeah, it was good. And this is good. I like this page. It's good.
Okay. You want to get to the paywall. All right. Here we are, Lucas.
Yeah, so I thought this was quite good. I think something that is quite common practice is when you're surfacing the weekly price and the monthly price and the annual price is actually highlighting the discount you're getting by paying for the annual price. Yeah. To me, that I had to sort of do the math in my head, right? What's $2.99 weekly? How does that net out at a monthly price? Am I getting any advantage by purchasing the annual price? I know it says best deal, but I sort of have to do the arithmetic to work out exactly what discount I'm getting on the annual price. So I think that would be the main piece of feedback here. That was the thing that I noticed.
No, and I'll show you a paywall in a little bit too. I'm going to pull it up right now. So I did an event, but here I'll cover this right now. And this, I like visuals. So on that point too, Lucas, I have a case study where we saw a 38% increase by doing the math for the user. So pay attention and you guys are in the right place because we got the best shiznit. All right, here it is. So on your point, Lucas, here's the case study. So what Lucas said, right? Just do the math. I say save 75%. I know the spacing issues suck. This is one of my apps. But again, when we did the math for the end user, we saw a 38% increase in sales. And so what we found is there wasn't a huge difference, depends on your app and depends on the pricing, but there wasn't a huge difference in doing the math as a yearly, everything yearly, or everything monthly. But net, what Lucas said is just do the math for the end user so they can see the actual savings visually. Right. Yeah. So that's, thanks. Okay. And Eric, yes, I did notice that your X only surfaces a few seconds later. Hey, you wanted to point it out, Eric. I didn't want you to get in trouble, but okay. All right. On the paywall screen, that illustration is taking up too much space. I noticed that too. Joe said that feedback. I felt like this was too big. I think it's fine. And what we also found too, oh man, I think I closed we saw that well, Eric, so there should be that presentation will be up soon. But another part, what we saw was graphics do well, but pictures do better. And then video sometimes outperforms that. So it was illustration to photo, photo to video. And we saw every improvement in conversions every stop along the way. So that's why I said highlight the children falling asleep to a story that you read. And I do feel the same way. Like you can highlight some of the benefits and you can make 7-day trial more prominent too as well. Anything else, Lucas, on the paywall?
Awesome. No, love it. I think, yeah.
Really good.
Good feedback.
Looks amazing here. I like it. I like the little testimonial right here, monthly. Again here, like Lucas said, Eric, do some math for me. $39.99 is really cheap. The last thing that I think is underutilized, Lucas, is an old friend of mine. He was in our community, but he was like, he tested removing the trial once people started using the app. So I don't know, Eric, if you have any free stuff on here, but once people start using the app and start listening to a few things, remove the trial, right? You give them a little bit of taste, but after the usage period is over, if they never use it, they might need a trial. But if they started using it, there's some like, maybe they like it, right? Do an offer right there. So that's the only thing I'll say. Lucas, anything else on the app?
No, that's great. Good apps. All the best to the developers. Hope they're successful for you.
Yeah, I love it. Okay. I think did I miss any questions? No, I think we're good. So if you got any last questions, put it into the chat for Lucas before we say goodbye. Lucas, anything I missed that you want to make sure we cover?
No, I think we're all good. I think we covered a lot. Thanks for having me on. It was great.
Yeah. Look, if you're on the newsletter, we promoted this in our newsletters right now as well. But Paddle has a great guide on mobile strategies for monetization. So check it out as well. And I asked Sanchu, who's in the live stream as well, to put it into the YouTube description. So go ahead and check that out. And then the audio version goes out the very next day. So if you guys can't watch it, the audio version goes out all the time. All right. Once again, it is paddle.com. Lucas, do you want to make this visible to anybody? If anybody wants the presentation, maybe we can give them a link. So just email me and I'll handle it for you.
Cool. Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Cool. Once again, it is paddle.com. Look, I'm going to do a lot of more Web2App campaigns type of content. So stick with this channel because I think it is the biggest one. And I'll be testing out myself as well and giving you all the hacky ways to do it. And Paddle, I love it. Lucas, I got to move over because all the localization stuff, and feel free to drop off here, but Victor asked the question about my academy. I got to move all the academy stuff into Paddle because I want to localize. People have asked me for discounts in India and all that stuff. And I'm like, yes, I will. Here, this is what Victor said. And I'll get to this, Victor. But like they asked for it. I want to move all my academy stuff to Paddle as well.
Great stuff.
Yeah, I love it.
Glad to have you.
I love it, Lucas. I won't make you stay any longer. Let me look at who's up. Oh, I got a good past client of ours and a friend of mine. We got Sam, who's in the fitness space. We're going to talk about how he's been able to build a niche fitness app and find success with it. He's got a great social media following as well. So tune in every Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific here on YouTube as well. Lucas, thank you so much for coming on and doing this.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks very much for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you guys all for watching. I'll see you on the next